morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Buffalo, New York. Today's verse is Romans 12:10. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Give preference to one another in honor. Now this word, be devoted, that's an interesting word. It's only used this one time in all of Scripture, and let's see if I can pronounce it. It's philostorgos, and basically philo being love, and storgos is family, so love for the family. So we have to have familiar love for one another. Now remember in last week's verse, and I had the link up here, we saw that really unusual verse that Jesus said, whoever doesn't hate his mother, father, and wife, and children, and brother and sister, and even himself, is not worthy to follow me. But we found out that the idea is we have to love him more than anyone else or anything else in our life. And once we are emptied of all that lousy human love, then he could come in and fill us with his love. So we are only hating for a short moment until he fills us with a much better agape love. And with that love, we can love our family a lot better. But Christian love is really interesting because we have a family love for anyone who's a believer, because now we have new spiritual brothers and sisters. And therefore, if a stranger from some foreign land who is a believer comes into my life, I might be closer to that stranger than I am to a flesh and blood relative who's not a believer. That's how agape love works. So as we look at this first part, be devoted to one another in brotherly love, it's basically have that family love for brotherly love. And of course, brotherly love is Philadelphia. You probably know. Very interesting way that God phrases this. The next part says giving preference to one another. Well, once again, here's a word that's only used this one time in Scripture, and it's even tougher to pronounce. Let's see if I can get it. Progemonai. I hope that's right. And the idea of that is to lead the way for others or lead the way to others. Well, that's John the Baptist. He was the voice crying out in the wilderness, I'm here to make the way straight to the Lord. And once Jesus started his official ministry with that baptism of John the Baptist, then John the Baptist was perfectly willing to kind of disappear into the background and say very correctly and very humbly, he must increase and I must decrease. And what a ministry that was, to allow Jesus to have the preference, to be lifted up above him. The Message calls this playing second fiddle, but John the Baptist in glory is certainly no second fiddle. So let's put this in some practical terms for a church. A healthy church should have leadership that is looking for others to take over their role, to raise up the next generation, as it were, or at very least to have someone ready to step in if they're on vacation, or God forbid if they're disabled somehow or whatever, that someone else has been brought up to that level. But there can be a lot of egos where maybe a senior pastor doesn't want to give up the pulpit to anybody else, but it's a healthy thing to bring up the next person for when he retires or whatever. Or here's one. I've been a player on a lot of worship teams throughout my years, and I can tell you there's a lot of egos in there. And maybe it's the pastor's wife is the leader of the worship team, right? And she has to lead everything. I'm the lead. I lead every song, and I will always lead every song. We're not going to have this guy or that guy or anybody else lead because it's mine and I won't give it up. Well, she's not playing second fiddle, and that's not healthy for a church. So let's choose love and lift up our brothers that way. Because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.